Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. I'm your host, Bomani Obadelli. I'm actually also the president of the board of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. The Grand Boulevard Coalition is a coalition of community agencies in the Grand Boulevard community that's focusing on underage drinking and drugging of youth and education. I actually also participate with the AmeriCorps Vista program as a Vista leader through the organization and Chicago area project, should I say. And let me start off by introducing some of our coalition partners, since we talked about, I have a guest tonight, and I'm wearing the shirt because it is hotter. It's Africa hot outside, so make sure you check on the elderly and the sick. It is really hot, I gotta tell you. I would have hit on another. It's hot. That's all I can say. But anyhow, back to my main point. The Grand Boulevard Coalition is made up of partners from the Grand Boulevard community. Some of our partners are the Institute for Positive Living, Recovery 2000, the Green Light Movement, Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, the Bronzeville Community Center, Chicago Public Schools through the Community Relations Office, Mr. Lafayette Ford, and the Alderman of the Third Ward. We couldn't much of the work that we're doing around prevention and education without the Alderman of the Third Ward, Pat Dow, who's a great partner with us and has been. So we're going to get right into some things tonight. And first, I should shout out Centers of New Horizon, who's one of our partners, and Ms. Krista Hamilton, who is the executive director. On last week, we had 40 youth there to take a survey as it relates to dealing with underage drinking and drugging and a lot of different other community issues. So really shout out to Centers of New Horizon and their executive director, Ms. Krista Hamilton, for the great work that she is doing in the Grand Boulevard, Bronzeville community. And I should mention, this is a live show, 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. This is a live show. And then I should also mention to you that this coming week, Saturday, Senator Matty Hunter, State Senator Matty Hunter, is having a health fair, which we will participate in. So we will be out in the IIT campus on 33rd and State, participating in State Senator Matty Hunter's 13th annual Health, Fun, Fitness Fair. It's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Illinois Institute for Technology at 3300 South State. It's a really great event. You can come out and get health screenings. I know she do some raffles. They give out book bags, school supplies. Another one of our partners is involved, the Institute for Positive Living. The senator is out there. ComEd is out there especially when you're running the air conditioner in this hot weather. ComEd is out there. The Chicago Public Schools is present, and the University of Chicago is certainly one of the sponsors of this event. Again, this is a great event. It's free to the community for everyone who's in the Senator's District, and particularly as it relates to Bronzeville and the Grand Boulevard community. So we will be there giving out information about GBC and some of the great work that we've been doing at the Grand Boulevard Coalition. So Saturday, if you're not doing anything from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., if you come out there between 10 and 11:30, you'll see me in person. I will be there before I go to Bible class. But however, you can meet me out there this Saturday on the grounds of IIT 33rd and State at State Senator Matty Hunter's health fair. And again, you will have, if you got children, they have barbers on site. There's a lot of good information. It's probably over 30 to 40 50 different vendors with a lot of information and education that certainly the community can use. And again, the most important thing is the health screenings that you may have access to. So that's a wonderful opportunity to do that. So this is a drug-free community show, particularly as we're talking about Grand Boulevard community and our coalition as it relates to addressing underage drinking and drugging. And later on in the show, before we leave, I'm going to show you a PSA that some of our youth have come up with and done, and try to get some feedback from you guys. So, hey, this is an informative show, but it's also an interactive show. So it's live. You can give me a call at 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. We're talking about the Grand Boulevard Coalition and underage drinking and drugging. And I know we've hit on a lot of different issues as it relates to underage drinking and drugging, and just things going on in our community. And I want to talk about the fact that marijuana use among teens is certainly on the rise, but you know that. And even though our program is specifically to deal with addressing underage drinking and the use of marijuana in the Grand Boulevard community, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the narcos. Narcos, which is another hallucinogenic drug, if I didn't talk about lean, which is a mixture of liquid codeine and soda pop, if I didn't talk about mollies, which is another form of a hallucinogen that young people tend to gravitate towards and consume, and make them act very erratic and irrational, and so a lot of our communities today are dealing with these issues. And so even though, as for the purpose of this program, talking about underage drinking and the use of marijuana, we also have to deal with the fact that young people, for some reason or somehow, I wouldn't say for some reason, we know somehow they're gaining access to prescription medication. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that the use of prescription. So someone gets a prescription for, one of these drugs as a coping mechanism for whatever they're dealing with, and instead of the person taking the liquid codeine for their ailment or the painkiller, the adult individual, and I would say that the adult individual turns around and sells that to some young person, which is similar how we deal with the whole issue of underage drinking and drugging in our community. The fact that there's some adult who stand outside of a liquor store and they either purchase alcohol for youth, or better yet, we have irresponsible, should I say, business owners who sell alcohol to young people and adults who sell marijuana to 12 and 13-year-olds to mix in their blunt papers and your Swisher Sweets and all that stuff. So if you're a parent out there, I'm just hipping you up on some of the things that are going on in the community that you should be knowledgeable about. Again, our phone number is 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. This is a live show, so in interactive, you can certainly feel free to call in. But so. And let me just say this, as we talk about drug-free communities, but we talk about a community in general, and certainly now I'm giving you my opinion as a host. I don't really fault the youth so much. We have an adult problem. Children will behave as adults allow them, and I believe that many of the elements and the problems in our community systematically as it relates to underage drinking, drugging, educationally, social, it stems from adults. We have a adult problem with adults wanting to be adults, and that feeds to some of the callers that we've gotten back and forth about allowing their children to drink and get high with them because they felt that it was appropriate that they do it in the home instead of having them do it outside. I say again, and I'm a father of 5 children. I could tell you that, ages from 10 to 18. My oldest daughter is on her way to college. I may have her home before I drive her in a couple of weeks down to Atlanta to go to school. But the point that I want to make is that I've always stressed, and it's not been the most pleasant thing, that I'm not my child's friend. I don't expect for them to, and I've never told them that they're my friend. I'm their father. I didn't say I win the Father of the Year award, but I'm a father, and so I don't. My child is not my friend, and I've never expressed to them that that they are my friends. And, I hear some parents, well, I'm my child's best friend. Well, I think you err in that sense because, a parent is a protector, a provider, a nurturer, and an educator. A friend is something different. And from that standpoint, now maybe after, my daughter is 21, 22, 25, perhaps we might hang out. I don't know if there, I just don't know if I would ever feel comfortable with, to be frank with you, outside of going to a Cubs game, hanging out with my children, and certainly in indulging in adult beverages with them. I just, that's just my standpoint. So that's the way I feel about it. But I mean, certainly, there's various opinions as it relates to parents about how they interact with their children and involve them. I just don't think that it's appropriate that adults sit around and have adult conversations in front of children unless it is to teach a lesson or guide them. I don't think it's appropriate that adults at any time, this is my opinion again, as a father, would sit around and engage in drinking alcohol or smoking marijuana under the act of you trying to protect your child. I just don't agree with it. But, I mean, there are different ways that folks raise their children, and for whatever reason, we make those decisions. But do understand, for every choice, there are consequences. And so, there could be positive or negative. And in our case, if you look around the African-American community and the urban community, you can see the levels of death and destruction that's taking place in our community. And a lot of it is because of the lack of, I won't even say the lack of knowledge. I would say for the lack of accepting the knowledge, because you got Grand Boulevard here, you have local schools where people are taught. I think in some of the churches, they're doing a good job trying to talk about everyday life issues, and I just think people are rejecting sound information, sound doctrine, and therefore we continue down this spiral of having constant problems in our community. And I'll tell you again, when you talk to a lot of young people, whether they engage or not, but they will tell you about some of their friends who are smoking marijuana, laced with all kind of other kind of drugs. You can walk down any street in the community and you can see young people engaging in drinking lean and popping Molly. So these type of things you can see that is having a detriment in our community as it relates to problems. I think we have a caller, and I'm getting some feedback. So caller, please turn down. We have a caller, but please turn your television down. Caller, you on the air. Good evening, caller. You on the air?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
This is William Penn. I was calling to.
Oh, William Penn, our parent coordinator for the Grand Boulevard Coalition. How are you, Mr. Penn?
I'm doing fine. I was listening to the show. Great show. Hope to get back on the air with you.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be on for another, I think, 5 or 6 weeks, and certainly look forward to having you back on. For you are a pillar in the community, a father, number one, and you live in the Grand Boulevard community. So I'm grateful. All is well, man. In fact, shortly, probably after you hang up, we're going to show the PSA, which I believe your daughter Paige is involved in. Or was involved in, should I say.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so too, right. Well, my question, or just to put out there, that if there are other parents that are listening that want to join and be as a parent advocate along with me, I can always use more support, if they can email the organization and their name and information, and we definitely want to reach out to them because we want to have a big meeting and plan some things for the back to school happening at the end of the month for the public school kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for your call, Mr. Penn. Appreciate you. All right, and so Mr. Penn, William Penn, again, who's our parent coordinator, and thanks for the call, is invited you to email, and it's the Grand Boulevard, lowercase, Grand Boulevard Coalition at gmail.com. Again, Grand Boulevard Coalition at gmail.com. Or here, you can reach me at 312-420-5582. I'm going to say that real slow again, so that, and I will pass your information on. If you are a parent or a business person or a community resident in Grand Boulevard community or a Bronzeville community who want to get involved, because I know that's pretty popular now. It's Bronzeville. I live in Bronzeville. They don't talk about Grand Boulevard anymore. I think there's some other place. But this is the Grand Boulevard Coalition. We old school. But anyway, and so 312-420-5582. 312-420-5582. And I believe that we're going to begin to show the PSA. And once you sit back and listen and see some of the work of our young people, it's probably a minute or so long, but you can still call in 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060.
Grand Boulevard Coalition.
The Youth Advisory Council gives its participants a voice and the opportunity to make a positive change in their community.
We hope you choose to join us in our pursuit to make our community a better place. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that was pretty short. I hope you could hear it. There was some of our young people with the Grand Boulevard Coalition. I hope you were able to hear that. And then here's some information on the GBC. Again, it is the GBC Grand Boulevard Coalition. And our email is Grand Boulevard Coalition at gmail.com. Again, Grand Boulevard Coalition at gmail.com. And so I hope that you were able to hear it. Anyway, that just our Youth Advisory Council, which is made up of various young people who live in the Grand Boulevard community. And, and many of them have taken a pledge to be drug-free within the community. And again, as we look around our community, we've been able to do some great work working with some of our partners like the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse to shut down liquor stores and some of the bad actors in our community who have actually been caught selling alcohol and drugs to youth underage in the community. So this is a live show again, 312-738. I am your host, Bomani Obadali. I am the president of the board of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. And again, it is made up of several community groups in the community, and I will name them again. The Institute for Positive Living, Recovery 2000, Centers for New Horizon, the Green Light Movement, Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse, and the Chicago Public Schools under the direction of Community Relations Division, Schools and Community, with Mr. Lafayette Ford, who's also the vice president of the organization, and Mr. William Penn, who's our parent coordinator who called in, and our great historian and griot, Mr. Lorenzo Young. And we look forward to having Mr. Lorenzo Young because he's a great historian who understands the Bronzeville community and Grand Boulevard community. He's been around certainly a long time and certainly has a breadth of knowledge as it relates to issues that are concerning the community. So back to the point again. So when we look at issues in the community as it relates to underage drinking and drugging, again, it is the onus is on the adults in the community to take more of a responsible role in trying to assist and guide and direct the young people in our community so that they're making positive choices and are doing the right thing as it relates to being responsible in the community. And so, actively from a standpoint of our partners, like Centers of New Horizon with Kristen Hamilton, who's the CEO, not only is she a coalition partner, but they've employed, I think, somewhere along 250 to 500 youth this summer, and have placed them in jobs throughout the community. Right? You have the Institute for Positive Living, who's doing great work, working in the education arena to educate the young people, and their platform is through reading. And meeting authors as it relates to what young people decide they want to be in life, the choices that they make, and they do a great work in I believe they're working in Dearborn Homes, doing some work down on 26th and State Street. Then you have Recovery 2000, who certainly has been a pillar in the community as it relates to addressing substance abuse issues, HIV and AIDS, hepatitis C phenomenon. And so they do some of our education around, alcohol and substance abuse and those things of that nature. And the Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church has certainly been a great partner as it relates for the use of their facility, for doing much of the work that we do. And even with the Bronzeville Community Center, not only has John Cook, who is the president of that organization, but he's also has assisted us and helped us with shutting down, he's played a role in shutting down and helping to close bad businesses, like liquor stores who sold drugs and alcohol to youth. And the alderman, I will say again, first and foremost, has done a yeoman's job in addressing some of those issues in the community. So we have a well-rounded, very diverse group that we work with, and like Mr. Penn, we are trying to get more parents involved, because at the end of the day, it is really about being good parents and being responsible parents to your children in the community. And in order for us to be able to solve this problem and do this work, we're going to need, like anybody else, you're going to need the support and the engagement of parents in the community. So we welcome that. We welcome that. And so I know that the summer is coming to an end and school is getting ready to go back, and as we talk about the drugs in the community, we know that marijuana is a gateway drug, and so don't be fooled by the think that unfortunately on any corner in the community, readily young people are able to access marijuana. Trust me, I know this. And so I walk the streets, and I spend money in the community with some businesses and some not. In fact, I bought this shirt from a African-American vendor on 47th Street. I just decided that, hey, I like it. It's nice. When I used to wear these shirts, they said I was being very radical, but I don't want to get diverted off of that. I guess it's a fad now. It is back in style, but it's very hot. And so this is a cool garment, and I feel very good about it. But my point is this, just being responsible, and a responsible person in the community. And I'm a person that walk the streets, and I'm going to digress for a moment because I believe we have a caller. Caller, you on the air. Good evening, caller, you on the air. Good evening, how are you? How are you, caller?
This is Laurel. And I had a question.
Sure.
I had a question. When do you expect to have some youth on the program?
Relatively soon. I think we're looking right before school goes back. So probably the last week before school goes back, and then in the first week of September while school is in. So the goal is to have some youth on. And I was talking earlier that on the 19th, I'm going to be driving my daughter to college, and certainly she's 18 and lives in the community. So I may just have her on just to get her perspective as a young woman who lives in the community, and just talk to her. But the certainly the last week of August and the first week of September is a goal to have some of our young people on. Many of them have summer youth employment responsibilities or jobs. I just say this, and that's a good thing. They're working, and so with their summer jobs, it doesn't allow them the time to come down to the studio with us, and that's a great thing. And I would say shout out to Krista Hamilton at Centers of New Horizon, because many of our young people that are working, in fact, through that organization. And Krista's been a great partner with us in the Grand Boulevard Coalition. So, Laura, you got anything else you want to mention before we...
No, but congratulations with your daughter and driving and going to college. She's a great person.
Well, hey, listen, it's a challenge, especially, thank you for your call, Laura. It is a challenge when you are raising teenage children. Trust me when I tell you that. It's not an easy thing being a father to a teenage child, but I'm grateful. All praises be to God. The one down, as they say, 4 to go. Let's see how that happens. But with our minute left, the point that I was making is that I walk the streets of the community, and again, the adults. We're going to have to become adults and take responsibility. Now, we can't do it by ourselves. It's going to take the adults, good business people, and I'm going to tell you, and working with the police. The police are not all bad. I know that we in this phenomenon with all the videotapes of police shootings and all that stuff, but let me just tell you, there are some good police out there. There are some bad ones, but there are more good police than there are bad ones, and I think that we cannot, obviously, when you look in our community, you know that we can't do this work alone. It's going to take good parents, good teachers, good moms, dads, policemen, good aldermen, good elected officials, a great mayor to begin to tide the tide and save these problems. A great television station like CAN TV, which gives us the opportunity to do the work that we're doing. So again, thank you so much for watching. This has been another great show between now and next week. God bless. Peace.